Hello class, and welcome to Direct Stars. In our mathematics class today, we'll be looking at Introduction to Powers and Roots. And the aim of this lesson is for you to understand the concept of powers and roots. And the objective of this lesson is that at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to define powers and roots and also understand the concept of repeated multiplication and its inverse. So what is powers in mathematics? A power or an index is a notation for a number multiplied by itself a specific number of times. Let's say, for instance, if we have y raised to the power 2, this y is called the base, and this 2 is called the power or the index. And we can have this y raised to the power 2 as multiplying y in two places. So we can have this to be y times y. So now let's look at some examples. The first example here, we're asked to simplify 3 raised to the power 2. Here we have 3 to be the base, and we have 2 to be the power. So here we want to multiply 3 in two places. So we can have this to be 3 times 3. We're going to have this to be equals to 9. The base can also be a negative number. Here we have to simplify, that's minus 3 raised to the power 2. So we want to multiply minus 3 in two places. So we can have this to be equals to minus 3 multiplied by minus 3. So here you have to be very mindful of the minus because we are multiplying it first. Minus times minus, we're going to have this to be plus. Then 3 times 3, we're going to have this to be 9. So we have minus 3 raised to the power 2. This gives us 9. The next example, we're asked to simplify that 3 raised to the power 3. So here I want to multiply 3 in 3 places. So we have 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 times 3, we're going to have this to be 27. So we have 3 raised to the power 3. This gives us 27. And the next example here, we have minus 3 raised to the power 3. So we want to multiply minus 3 in 3 places. So here we have minus 3 multiplied by minus 3 multiplied by minus 3. So just like in example 2, we have to be very mindful of the minus sign that we have here because we are multiplying it first. So here we have minus times minus, that's going to give us plus. Then plus times minus, that's going to give us minus. So we have minus first when we multiply the minus sign. So now let's multiply the numbers. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3, we're going to have this to be 27. So we have minus 3 raised to the power 3 to give us minus 27. So now let's look at 3 basic rules in powers. 3 basic rules. The first rule that we have here, we have it that anything raised to power of 0 is 1. Any number, any variable raised to the power of 0, we're going to have it to be 1. So here we have 6. If you have 6 raised to the power 0, the base is 6, the power is 0. Because the power is 0, we're going to have this to be 1. We can also have y raised to the power 0, which is a variable. Y raised to the power 0 is going to give us 1 because the power is 0. So anything raised to the power 0 is going to give us 1. And also if we have 36b, so everything raised to the power of 0, because we have this raised power 0. We're going to have this to give us 1. So any number, any variable, no matter how large the number is, raised power 0, we're going to have it to be 1. To the second rule, anything raised to the power of 1 is just itself. Anything raised to the power of 1 is just itself. So here, if we have 6 raised power 1, we have this to be 6. If we have y raised power 1, because the power is 1, we're going to have the variable back. It's going to give us y. And lastly, if we have 36b, all raised power 1, we're going to have 36b back to be the answer. So anything raised to the power of 1 is just itself. And the third rule, if the base is a 1, if the base is a 1, then the answer will always be 1. If the base is 1, then the answer will always be 1. So if we have 1 raised to the power 5, you can still have 1 raised to the power 5 to be 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 in 5 places. We're going to have this to give us 1, because no matter how you multiply the 1 by itself, you are going to have 1 back to be the answer. So if you have the base to be 1, then it's always 1. Also, if you have 1 raised to the power c, irrespective of what the variable can be, you're also going to have it to be 1. And if you have 1 raised to the power 12a, no matter we're going to have to be the value of 12a, we're also going to have this to be 1. So these are the 3 basic and important rules in powers. So now let's look at roots. A root is a number that, when multiplied by itself, produces the original number. Again, a root is a number that, when multiplied by itself, produces the original number. And it's represented by this symbol. The symbol of a root. So let's look at some examples here. Here we are asked to simplify root 16. Now we can still have this to be the square root of 16. We should know that we have 2 here, though we don't put the 2. But if we have this, we have it to be the square root of 16. So what we are just asked to do here is to find a number that we're going to multiply in 2 places to have it to be 16. Then what's the number? We're going to have it to be 4. Why? Because 4 times 4, we're going to have this to be 16. So the square root of 16, we're going to have this to be 4. The next example, we have the square root of 25. So what I just asked to do here is to find a number that we can multiply by itself to give us 25. And that's 5, because 5 times 5 is going to have to be 25. So the square root of 25, we're going to have this to be 5. The next example, we're asked to find the cube root of 8. The cube root of 8, the cube root of 8. So what we're just asked to do here is to find a number that can multiply in 3 places to give us 8. Then the number is 2, because 2 times 2 times 2, we're going to have it to give us 8. So the cube root of 8 is going to give us 2. And lastly, we're asked to find the cube root of 64. So what we want to look for here is to find a number that we can multiply in 3 places to give us 64. And that's 4. Because 4 times 4 is 16. The 16 times 4, we're going to have this to be 64. So the cube root of 64, we're going to have this to be 4. So that'll be all for today. And if you haven't subscribed, do well to subscribe now. Thank you and see you in the next class. Bye.